It's 3 a.m., and your eyes are open. You don't remember waking up. The house is silent. The ceiling is a flat gray shape above you, and your mind is already running. You reach for your phone before you've even decided to. And somewhere under the surface, a quiet thought forms. What is wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. But the real answer is far stranger than insomnia. Because for most of human history, waking in the dead middle of the night wasn't a malfunction. It wasn't a symptom. It was a feature. Your ancestors woke at 3 a.m. on purpose. They expected it. They had a name for the sleep before it and the sleep after it. And the thing that broke this ancient rhythm wasn't stress, or screens, or caffeine. It was something far more ordinary and far more recent than you'd ever guess. To understand what your body is doing tonight, you have to go back. Not 100 years, thousands. Picture a single room, a fire burning low in the corner. No clock on the wall because the clock has not been invented in any form you would recognize. The sun went down hours ago, and when the sun went down, the day ended. There was nothing to read by, nothing to do, nowhere to be. So your ancestors did the only sensible thing. They went to bed early. Astonishingly early. Sometimes only 2 or 3 hours after dark. And here is where it gets strange. They did not sleep straight through until morning. They slept in two distinct shifts. A historian named Roger E. Kirch spent years buried in old documents, diaries, court records, medical texts, prayer books, plays. He was not looking for sleep at first, but he kept finding the same two phrases over and over in language after language. People wrote about their first sleep, and then separately their second sleep. At first he thought it was a quirk, a figure of speech. But it appeared everywhere, casually, as if everyone simply knew what it meant. It meant exactly what it sounds like. People fell asleep at dusk. They slept for a few hours. And then, somewhere around midnight or a little after, they woke. Not groggy, not panicked, just awake. And they stayed awake, calmly, for an hour or two, in the deep middle of the night. Then they went back down for their second sleep until dawn. So what did they do in that gap? This is the part that should change how you feel at 3 a.m. forever. They did ordinary things. They lay in the warmth and let their minds wander. They prayed. They thought about their dreams, which were fresh and vivid because they'd just left them. Some got up and tended the fire. Some checked on animals. Some quietly visited a neighbor. Couples talked in the dark when the children were finally fully asleep. A few wrote. Many simply rested in a kind of soft, floating half-thought that doctors of the time actually recommended as good for the soul. There was even a French term for this window. The watch. The door veil, a blend of sleeping and waking. A time that belonged to no one and to nothing. A private hour carved out of the night. So why have you never heard of this? Why does waking at 3 a.m. feel like a problem instead of a tradition? Because the rhythm was erased. And we can name almost exactly when. As artificial light spread, the night stopped being empty. First, it was the spread of street lighting in growing cities. Then, brighter lamps inside the home. Then, eventually, the switch on your wall. Suddenly, the evening had things in it. Places stayed open. People stayed up. Bedtime crept later and later until it slammed up against the time you had to wake for work. The night got compressed. The long, slow, two-part sleep got squeezed into a single hard block, and the gap in the middle, the watch, the door veil, simply vanished from memory. Within a few generations, people forgot it had ever existed. And the next time they woke at 3 a.m., they had no word for it anymore. So they reached for a new one. Insomnia. But your body never got the message. That ancient pattern is still in you. And we know this not from old diaries, but from a laboratory. In the early 1990s, a researcher at the National Institute of Mental Health named Thomas Weir ran an experiment that sounds almost cruel in its simplicity. He took a group of people and, every night for a month, he put them in darkness for 14 hours. No light, no screens, no way to fill the evening. Just the long dark their ancestors would have known. At first, the people slept the way modern people sleep. One long stretch, exhausted, catching up. But after a few weeks, something shifted. Their sleep cracked cleanly into two pieces. They would sleep for about 4 hours. then wake. Then lie peacefully awake for 1 to 2 hours in the middle of the night. Then sleep again until the darkness ended, without being told, without knowing the history. Modern people dropped into ancient conditions, spontaneously rebuilt the exact rhythm Ekirch had found in those dusty records. And there was one more detail. During that quiet waking window, Ver measured a surge of prolactin, a hormone linked to a state of calm, restful stillness. The same hormone that washes through animals when they're settled and safe. In other words, the people in that midnight gap weren't suffering. Their bodies were doing something they were built to do. They felt the way meditators describe feeling. Awake, but at peace. So sit with that for a moment. The thing that terrifies you at 3 a.m., the racing mind, the certainty that you'll be ruined tomorrow, may not be the natural state of the midnight waking at all. It may be what happens when you fight it. Because here's what your ancestors didn't do. They didn't lie there calculating how few hours they had left. They didn't check a glowing rectangle that told them the exact shrinking number. They didn't believe that waking was failure. The panic you feel isn't ancient. The panic is brand new. But maybe you're thinking those old diaries are just one culture, one time, one place. Maybe segmented sleep was a strange habit of one corner of history, not something written into the human body. That's a fair doubt. So scientists went looking for people who still live close to the way humans lived for most of our existence. A team led by Jerome Siegel at UCLA with researcher Gandhi Yetish studied 3 groups of hunter-gatherers and traditional people on opposite sides of the planet. The Hadza in Tanzania, the San in Namibia, the Tsimane in Bolivia. People with no electricity, no clocks, no alarms. People living the way the whole species once did. The findings overturned almost everything we assume. These people did not sleep more than you. In fact, they often slept a little less, around 6 to 7 hours. They did not go to sleep when the sun set. They stayed up for hours after dark, around the fire, talking. And the strongest signal that told their bodies to sleep was not light at all. It was temperature. They drifted off as the night grew cold, and they woke as the dawn began to warm. Their sleep tracked the falling and rising heat of the world around them, a signal your heated, cooled, climate-controlled bedroom has almost completely erased. So your body, lying in the dark at 3 a.m., is reading signals that no longer mean what they used to mean. It's running ancient software on a planet that has quietly changed every input. Of course it wakes. It was always going to wake. The only thing that's new is that now there's no fire to tend, no neighbor to visit, no warm dark hour that belongs to you. There's just a ceiling and a phone and a number counting down. Now look at what you actually do in that hour. You grab the phone. The screen floods your eyes with the one kind of light most likely to convince your brain it's morning. You scroll. You read something that worries you. You check the time and do the math and feel the dread tighten. You try to force yourself back to sleep, which is the one thing that makes sleep impossible. And every part of that, every single part, is the exact opposite of what the watch was for. Your ancestors used that hour to let go. You use it to grip harder. So what would it mean to take the hour back? It might mean keeping the room dark when you wake and not reaching for the light that tells your body to start the day. It might mean letting your mind drift instead of dragging it back to a problem. It might mean treating the waking not as a wall you've hit, but as a door that's quietly opened, the way it opened for nearly everyone who ever lived. It might mean remembering that the stillness you feel, if you stop fighting it, is the same stillness Ver measured in his volunteers. Calm, restful, built in. You are not broken. You are not sleeping wrong. You are simply awake in the hour your species has always been awake, doing the only thing your ancestors never did with it: worrying. The watch is still there. The dorvée is still there. The body still keeps the old appointment faithfully in the dark, long after the world forgot why. So tonight, when your eyes open at 3 a.m. and the house is silent and your mind begins to run, you can reach for the phone and the dread and the shrinking number. Or you can lie still in the dark and understand for the first time that nothing is wrong with you at all.